When you're young, I'm sure most of us had a sibling or a cousin or a friend that you always hung out with and that changed the course of your life because of the way you thought of them. I'm here this morning to say that this person was my sister. My sister Tammy, who was born August 16th, 1964, which makes her a year older than I was. And that date is significant because of all the people in my family. It's the only person I could remember her birthday, and I'll tell you why later. When we started, we lived in a small community called Lake Luzerne, New York. We were a poor family. I had 7 brothers and sisters. We moved around a lot within the community. We even stayed in a camper for almost a year. So we didn't always have the easiest life, but my sister was always there. You know the expression 2 peas in a pod? I don't know where people got that from because there's a lot more peas in a pod than 2. But there were always 3 peas in a pod with my sister. When I was young in Lake Luzerne, New York, there were 3 of us. My aunt, who was a year older than my sister and 2 years older than me. My sister, who was a year older, and me. I don't remember most of the memories of that, but we have lots of pictures of them finding us when they couldn't find us, opening up the cupboard underneath the sink, and we're down there eating a box of cereal together. The first memory I remember of the threesome that we did, we were at my great-great-grandmother's house. And she didn't want us to go in the basement. So she told all of us about the boogeyman. And my sister and my aunt relentlessly told me about the boogeyman. They always wanted to terrify me somehow. And they were really good at it. We did everything together until 5th grade, when we moved to another community. We moved to Bennington, Vermont. For those who don't know, the Battle of Bennington is the big thing in Bennington, Vermont. And the date of the Battle of Bennington was August 16th. That's why I remembered my sister's birthday always. Well, the 3 peas in a pod changed. She got a best friend. Her name was Debbie, and she lived down the street. And we did everything together. My sister was always with at least 3 people and always had a friend. She was that constant rudder for me. We did everything, even junior prom and her junior prom and her senior prom. I took Debbie to the senior prom because she didn't have a date and my sister did. And I took Debbie to the junior prom because she didn't have a date and my sister did. There was lots of things that my sister did that attributed to me that I didn't even realize. When I was in high school, she decided to save up for her very first computer. And for those of us that remember Radio Shack, the TRS-80s, otherwise known as trash 80s, were about $399, which was a lot of money. It was about $1,200 in today's dollars. And my sister saved up for one because that's what she wanted. Well, she decided that she really couldn't do the programming like was required. And everybody knows that Radio Shack stuff didn't always work like it was supposed to work. So she gave it to me, and with some tinkering, I got it to work. I found out the heat sink, you had to cool off the heat sink. So I learned programming in high school on my own. I didn't realize that what I was interested in at the time. So my sister graduated a year before me, and a couple years later, she got married to her boyfriend, and a couple years later after that, she had her first child. Her first child's name was Eric, and I went to college, joined my career, and got into computers. Even though I was an engineer, I liked computers even in engineering. I lost track of what was going on in the family because of my career and moving around, and I moved to Texas. Turns out that when Eric was 7, she got divorced from her husband, and she spiraled out of control. She got into some bad things and had her son taken away from her. She always regretted that. I found out since, I didn't know what she did in the 10 years in between, but I found out since she went to North Carolina, got in a bad relationship with someone, and she was a dump truck driver. Of all things, she was a dump truck driver. Years later, she finally decided to get out of that relationship with the help of my mother, and she went to Samson, Alabama, where my mother lives. And from there, she started her road to recovery and life getting a little easier. She found another boyfriend, and she had another son with him, and his name is Danny. And Danny was her world, and she decided that she was going to dedicate her life to Danny. So her and Danny lived in Samson, Alabama until they got married. She married her boyfriend, Dean, and they lived apart for a while because he lived in Florida and she lived in Samson, Alabama. But at 17, his family needed some support, so they all moved in together. And things got a lot easier for my sister. She finally got some peace. She got to retire. She enjoyed art, baking, and sewing. That's what she found fun and interesting. So the one thing in life that my mother told me recently that she said that she regretted, that she wanted to see her kids grow up and be responsible adults, and she wished that she could see that. Well, unexpectedly, she passed recently. But the love of her sons and the help of her husband and the constant calls to her mother, my mother, she achieved peace in the last few years. I started interacting with her when she moved to Samson, Alabama. I didn't necessarily have a lot of things. I didn't necessarily talk to her a lot. I found out what she was doing through my mother, and my mother found out what I was doing through her. But less than a year ago, we went fishing together out on a pier in Florida, and she had a great time. So that was the last time I saw my sister. And that was very nice that we got to have a peaceful day together. We may have gotten sunburnt, but we had a great time. So I'd like to say, Tammy, you're loved and missed. You will be missed, and we will never forget you. Thank you.